BlogTalkRadio, the world's largest online radio network.
Joe Brown, Thursday night edition, Bottom Line Sports Show, 347-324-5839. Great show on tap. Going to get into a whole lot of football talk, basketball, dynamic show. We got our first guest on. Michael Irvin is on tap tonight. Tim Brown, Shannon Brown, Penny Hardaway, Charles Oakley. The whole gang is here. 347-324-5839 is the number to call in. Let's not keep our first guest waiting. Introducing this gentleman, you could talk about all his accolades and all the great things he's been able to do. But one thing, I guess the best word to sum up when introducing him, you have to just say simply, legend. Best to ever do it, get it done, and definitely an individual that is one of those guys I wish was still playing. Put your hands together for the outstanding one. He's got a great show as well down in Miami. The outstanding one, Mr. Michael Irvin.
Hey, what's up, man? Y'all got a crew over there, huh? A whole, squad over there just sitting there.
Mike, what's going on?
Too, man. Those are bad names you yelled off. That's a bad squad, too. Golly.
Hey, you know what?
Up,
it's kind of the best kept secret somewhat, but, we're working on some things behind the scenes. But thanks again for joining us tonight. How's everything going?
Everything's going well, man. I well on every front. I'm with my sons. We're going to pick up all of the pads because they go with pads tomorrow, so I can't wait to see them hit. But also, it's the season starting. Once I did that Hall of Fame game a couple of weeks ago, it's like, wow, we're back. It's back, and we had a real off season this time, so everybody's excited.
Yeah, we all are, and again, it's just a beautiful thing. Football is definitely back. Mike, I want to ask you this. Last year we saw Cam Newton have unbelievable success, really going back to when Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco came in the league. We saw the sort of transition where rookie quarterbacks were now thrust in. It's almost like a prerequisite. If you were a first-round pick, you were thrust in because of salary, where you were slotted, and the contract. Are rookie quarterbacks nowadays being rushed into playing and having instant success in their rookie season, and is that a bad thing?
Well, there's a couple of things that have happened and transpired over the last few years in the National Football League because you remember there was times when they had to force the Sam Bradfords, the Troy Aikmans on the field because the Sam Bradfords got $50 million guaranteed on a $75 million contract before he took one snap. Hold on, homeboy. We like you. You look good. But if you got $50 million guaranteed, we ain't got time to be waiting. You got to get your butt on this field right now. And that's what happened with them. Now, actually what has happened now, because it has converted again, since we've gone to the salary structure for rookies, and now you throw a Cam Newton in here with mobility and all of the new passing rules, which you can't touch a receiver and it's going to a passing game, now they're drafting more rookie quarterbacks because it's not costing them the $50 million guarantee, and they're throwing them in because they have so many options with the new passing rules. What I mean by that is, in this year's draft, not one time, and it shocks me, but not one time did you hear them say, well, he's a pure pocket passer. Nobody's even looking for the pure pocket passers anymore. Remember, that's all we were looking for was Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Now everybody's looking for Aaron Rodgers. So we're giving up a little bit of accuracy for mobility. So kind of watch this thing as it pans out. It'll be interesting. That's why Jake Lockers, the Ryan Tannehills are being hopped up in the first round because they can run like I don't know what. They'll work on the accuracy once they get in the league.
But see, that's what I was saying before, and it looks like Washington Redskins, again, they've had a long run of just not being able to really compete. The Giants win another Super Bowl, and I just look at it and I feel like the pressure and expectation is so high on a guy like RG3. In some instances, you could say he has more pressure than the number one pick, Andrew Luck.
Well, he does. He does. Now, wait, and wait, let's stop right there. Because that trips me out. It just trips me out. First of all, how do you throw all this heat on Cam, on RG3, when every expert in the world said Cam was going to fail? This would say he comes from a simple offense. No way he can have success. No way. But Andrew Luck is the most quarterback ready that I've seen since Joy in a way. These are words I've heard uttered for years, and I do this for a living. So now all of a sudden Cam goes on and have a blistering year, and all the pressure is put on RG3. I said, wait a minute. And I will be doing it on Sundays and Thursdays on the NFL Network. We're all the experts that said this is the baddest guy since John Elway, and now you want to tell me there's no pressure on him? You said this for 5 years. I don't care if he's a rookie. He has to perform just like Peyton Manning. All the rest of you guys have forgone all of your credibility. Shut up. That's what I say.
Here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, Michael Irvin. You got to check out his show on WQAM 550 in Miami. Outstanding. 347-324-5839 is the number to call in.
Michael, how you doing? This is Aaron Carter. I want to talk to you about the Cowboys a little bit. Des Bryant, Miles Austin, and now Jason Witten, they're all a bit banged up. And so how much early season could the Cowboys be in if they get off to a slow start? And how important is it for the Cowboys to get off to a fast start, given all the pressure that goes on down in Dallas?
Man, and not to mention, your start is going to start in New York on Wednesday night, for Wednesday night football against the world champions who are in your division. So, and you just found out you may not have the best tight end, the number one tight end in catches, the number one tight end in yards over the last, 4 years when you may not have Jason Witt. So pressure, yes. Pressure is on. But pressure does one or two things now. When pressure lines up in a pipe, it is going to burst the pipe if it's too much, or it makes the water in the pipe move faster. So can that pressure make the Dallas Cowboys get to the goal faster? You lose a Jason Witten, does a John Phillips jump in now and does the job that the Cowboys thought he could do. And then what you're doing, if he does, is extending the window that Jerry Jones and people are thinking are closing. So you get some situations that are tough, but they bring about some interesting opportunities if the right people step up. The Cowboys have young talent. On paper, and in shorts. Just can it perform in pads? That's the difference.
I want to follow up real quick. We talked a little bit about the offense of the Cowboys. What do you think about the defense of the Cowboys coming into this season?
Now, the defense, first of all, let me tell you something, man. That defense, the Cowboys they got the makings of something good. And let me tell you why. They've had the best pass rusher in the league since he got in the league in DeMarcus Ware. But the Cowboys have played for years this high-risk, high-reward defense. It's okay to play it if I'm going to take some risks, get to the quarterback. But when I take the risk, don't get to the quarterback, and he throws the ball, I got to make sure that I get paid off with the reward. And they didn't have the ability to do that. Maurice Claiborne gives them that. Those cornerbacks drop more passes than Brooke Shields in her younger days. The cornerbacks couldn't catch. Now, this kid, that's why Jerry went out and got a guy. If I get somebody to the quarterback, and now he throws the ball in the air, I can really make them pay. But we kept risking it, not getting people to the quarterback, and then the quarterback throwing the ball, and you're getting killed. So it should be an interesting thing. Young Sean Lee, we will see, because they got talent on all levels now. You want that in the defense. You want talent on the front line, you want talent in the linebacker, and talent in the secondary. Maurice Claiborne gave them that.
Here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, the outstanding, legendary Michael Irvin, number 88, 347-324-5839. How we see, I know you got a question for him, but, Mike, we like you said, I feel like we got a dream team. This is a gentleman. He's one of the executive producers, and he's been all over the place recently, up and down in New York City, in Bristol, Connecticut with ESPN. Mr. Charles Oakley's in the house. Oak's number just dropped. He just dropped.
Oak, my man, too, man.
He's going to call back in. He's definitely going to call back in. Howie, go ahead. Howie, we'll get Oak back on the line real quickly because I know he wanted to say hello to you.
Hey, Michael, I am the resident Dallas Cowboy fan on the show. Joe, can you please let him know? Michael, I'm actually wearing my number 88 right now with Mr. Irvin on the back and white jersey. I followed your career. I'm a huge fan. I thought you had the greatest Hall of Fame introductory speech of all time. I was emotional. I was watching it with two of my other Dallas Cowboy fans, Jonathan Foy and Donahue Baker. I just wanted to just give you a big up on that as well. Michael, what makes an elite wide receiver? And is there one in the game that reminds you of yourself?
Man, and it's a good question now. I can pull combinations of a guy to come to what I am, and it's not me boasting to say that, and I'll explain what I mean. Now, catching the football, I can find guys that can make some plays. Plenty of guys that can make plays, and I could make some plays. But now, being a leader from the position of wide receiver is another thing. I was fortunate enough to win championships on every level, and I had to lead from the wide out. Very difficult. You're not involved enough. You're out wide, away from everything. Everything is a dichotomy. It's your wide receiver says, I'm independent, I'm out here by myself, but I'm the most dependent person on this field. You see what I mean? So to become a receiver, you got to be a leader from that position. You got to know when to be selfish and when to be selfless. The only person that really knows how to do that, really to the degree, is Larry Fitzgerald. But I can't say the Larry Fitzgerald's like Mike Irvin because he's too pristine clean off the field. I got too many strikes against me off the field. You see what I'm saying? So on the field, Larry Fitzgerald, but you got to give me Larry Fitzgerald and me feel a little Chad Ochocinco and all of that to get a combination of who I am right about now since Chad just got out of jail. You see what I'm saying? Here's the issue, guys, that I try to always tell. Now, all of my yelling, too, you say what you want. I'm never going at my quarterback in a crazy way, and I'm never going at a head coach. So we see quarterbacks, see receivers, they say, oh, man, my baby. No, I didn't. I never went at my quarterback. I've never gone at my head coach. But you better believe I'll get in the ear of my receiver coach and say, you better get on the phone and get me that ball immediately. Now, that's different. That's different. And what I mean by that is I won't do anything, and you'll never find a teammate that said I did, to do anything that would take away from us having an opportunity to win the game on the field. Now, come the off season, you better make sure you keep me right. That's a different story. That's a different story. That was a different story.
Michael, I just got one follow-up question. I take a beating on this show about Jerry Jones. You're the only one that has a special relationship with him on this show. Can you just tell us a little bit about Jerry Jones?
And this part that trips me out, man. I apologize for taking that beating. And that beating that you take is because of the mess that other people perpetuate upon Jerry in the situation. Because you get an announcer says, why does Jerry always has to be around at practice? Why is he on the sideline? I'm sure the guys are tired. No, we're not. Stop saying that. Think about it. It makes me want to upchuck when I hear some guy that doesn't know what he's talking about spitting that out of his radio, his mouth. Because I say to him this, the Bible says out of abundance of our mouth, the heart speaks. I wonder, he must not be a worker. Because anybody that's a real worker that's going to go bust his ass every day in work, it doesn't matter who sees. I want everybody to see because I'm going to work hard. I want my boss on the field. So when I come out for my money, I ain't got to be saying, ask him how hard I work. Dude, you were there. Where's my money? Give me my contract. Stop playing. So all of that mess, nobody has to do anything. I'm in the business sometimes. I say, do you guys think, why wouldn't a man, if you're going to bust your butt and work hard, and you know you're going to ask for more money, why wouldn't you want your boss on the field? Get your butt out here and see this. Because I promise you, I will have a new contract to make. You see what I'm saying? So, no, we love Jerry. I love him boasting because the more he goes and brags, means he has to come back to make sure that happens. So he will do anything. Listen to me. Jerry will do anything to win, and that's the owner I want.
Mike, you could have played basketball in New York City with this gentleman. One of the executive producers, Mr. Charles Oakley, is back on the line.
What's up, fella? What's up?
Oh, what's up, big man? How are you?
Hey, Mike, I see you at the Hall of Fame looking all sharp as you always be, strolling down the aisle when they call you out. You never know when you might see me.
Hey, you're going to call out. Hey, I saw Jesse Armstead right up there. Jesse Armstead looked at me when I came off the air. He said, Michael, he said, man, you got 1,900 lives, man. How do you keep getting back on TV? I said, I don't know, dog. Every time they ask, hey, man, what's your record? I'm the only one on TV with more than a football record. And I'd be wondering, I said, from the football record, like, I'm the only one on TV with more than a football record.
Hey, just tell them you got a 45. You something on both sides.
That's what I'm doing.
He can hit the boys, so he can hit the instrumental version. Tell him you got two sides to you.
That's all right, nobody.
Well, Oak, I know you've just been real busy, man. You did your ESPN stuff, outstanding. And, again, people keep saying it was the fifth trending topic yesterday on Twitter. Oak needs to be on television. We glad we got him here at the Bottom Line Sports Show. Again, just being a fan, again, being a professional athlete, we don't see athletes like yourselves and Michael Irvin. What do you appreciate about a player of Michael's caliber and stature when he played the game and played the game the right way?
Well, I think that, when you go out and do your job like you're supposed to, know what you're doing every time on the field, a leader, the guy throw the ball to you, you catch him 99% of the time. That takes pride, effort, a lot of work, and, you got to be dedicated. There's a lot of things things do happen, like Mike said. He got two different kind of records and two, whatever. But my thing is, he do his job good. When you do something good, no matter what happened, look at Marv Albert, look at some of the other guys who did something wrong but getting a second chance. And there's a lot of people. The world right now, they're giving you a second chance. I don't know about a third chance, but it's about can you do something wrong and can you bounce back? And a lot, Tiger Woods bouncing back. LeBron James been criticized for so many years. Now he got a ring. Everybody want to be his friend now. But it is what it is. Do what you do best, and people can always have an opinion. And that's one thing, you don't let opinion get you down to try to help it and make it better.
Well, yeah, Mike, I'll ask you the same question about again. Yeah,
let me tell you about Oak, man. And I said this. I said to somebody the other day. I said, man, the one thing people will always respect, always, and they understand. People understand that there's a difference between weakness and wickedness. And what I was experiencing was weakness, messing around, all of that weakness. But I never had real wickedness. I really never intended to hurt anybody, things like that. And the one thing people will always respect, and I will give you a year's salary. You can pick any year, and I'll give you the salary. If you go find some coach or some player that I played with that'll tell you he got a teammate or he coached somebody that worked harder than I worked. And that's what you think about Oakley. When you line them up, each teammate looked at him and said, I know we got a shot because Oakley's on this team. Each of my teammates looked and said, I know we got a shot because Michael's on this team. I made damn sure of it.
No doubt. I like that. And that's the way I took it at the game. You got criticism. I can't shoot. I can't do that. But my thing, I always say I can shoot, but I'm a team player. I rebound. I play tough. I get the loose ball. Everybody can't score. And that's what's wrong with the league now. Everybody want to be a scorer. That's why the best team keep winning. The bad team keep losing.
Yep.
It always happens that way. Here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, Michael Irvin, Charles Oakley, Gerald Brown, Howard C., Aaron Carter, 347-324-5839. Don't forget 9:30, Tim Brown, 10 o'clock, Shannon Brown, Penny Hardaway. The crew is here. Thursday nights, like we do it, 347-324-5839. Mike, before we let you get on air, just a couple of more questions. We had a question came in from a caller, Brian Fernandez, down in the Miami area, and he's asking about the Miami Dolphins. Now, obviously, Chad Johnson has been let go. What are your thoughts and opinions on the sort of fate of the future of the Miami Dolphins for this upcoming season?
Man, such a huge Dolphin fan. I am anyway, a huge Dolphin fan growing up in the Miami area. Now, listen, and honestly, I like Chad as a person, but I never thought Chad would fit in with what they were trying to get done in Miami anyway. And then you bring in a young quarterback who you're trying to groom with the guy that I don't know. I never played with Chad, but people are saying maybe having problems picking up systems. And that's the last thing you need with a young guy, because the one thing you need is I need you to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, especially if you're a veteran, because I can't have you confusing me. I just got in this league. So I never really thought it was a good fit. If I get a young guy like a Tanner here that I'm trying to work in anyway, I want a big receiver that gives him room for error so he doesn't have to make that perfect throw. And then Chad's from Miami. Chad left New England. He was nice and quiet. He got another shot because of the way he handled the New England situation. As soon as Miami signed him, he said, I'm going back to being Chad Johnson and do what I do. I said, no, not now, Chad. It's almost like me right now. I'm 46. I was crazy when I was 24, 25, 26. Okay, that's cool. Michael will understand. You're 24, 25, 26. If you go back out there doing that stuff at 46, it's unforgiving. You understand? It's unforgiving. Like, Michael, you're not a kid anymore. That was stupid. You have kids. We can't forgive that. So that's what I'm seeing. So, Chad, at their early age in Cincinnati, you do all that mess. Look, you seem like you matured in New England. Okay, it didn't work out on the football field. Keep that maturity and keep working on the field, but have that maturity. If you don't convert and mature sometimes, they're going to call you a freak later on. They won't call you special. Dennis Rodman was special, and then he stayed right where he was, and now people call him a freak. You understand what I'm saying? The depth of what I'm saying is deep stuff. Everything has its place in its time. Chad, all of that stuff he did on Twitter in your younger days, that was all cool in a place and time. Now, the way you get on the team is you're not the same athlete, so you're getting on the team to mentor, and you can't go back to mess and being a mentor. I'm sorry, I'm preaching and teaching. I'm going to let it go right now.
Preach.
That's
I mean, it all makes sense, though. Preach. I'm a deacon.
Preach.
I'll be a deacon.
Hey, I'll pass the hat around.
You guys understand what I'm saying, don't man? Does that make sense? It's like, wait a minute,
I
man,
definitely understand.
To teach the young guys. You got to teach the young guys. Don't come now acting foolish. Get back. Now it's time to be mature. That's the only thing that'll get your jobs out, because you can't play like you used to. So you better be able to give up something else, and guys can't get that. Blows my mind.
When you get older, I like what you just said, but when you get older in this sport, if they bring you in, you have to be able to teach the younger guys and be able to show them what the league is about. Raise them, like raising your kids, raising your brother or somebody. If they give you a chance to do that, that's a blessing. You 10, such a football, you 10, 12 years in the league. I know basketball they're playing now a little longer, but my thing with football, they bring you a receiver around, and you got in New England. As a student, you wasn't a student of the game. You just had a problem understanding the system. I mean, that ain't good neither when you've been in the league 10, 12 years. That making other teams like, wow, what did he do there? Yeah, one play or whatever. But my thing is, you got to know what you're doing. You can't teach somebody if you just question them for knowing the system anyway. So I was surprised they brought him in to teach the younger guy because of what happened in New England. But when they give you a chance, I know you're going back home, you want to show this and that, but he got caught up. I mean, reality girl, he a reality guy, and professional football and all that stuff right now just damaged his career right now. He's damaged. He's like a car in a body shop. You got to wait for somebody to fix his other cars there. So they might not get to you this year. If you don't play this year, definitely not going to play next year because you barely played last year. So you got to definitely
Yep, you're right. You're right.
You got a belly in the shop, but it's a belly, but you still got to wait till the next belly to get fixed. So you ain't lying.
347-324-5883 is the number. Mike, I want to ask you one quick question before we let you get on out of here. Another quick question, and I'll ask you, Oak, as well, to chime in. Perception is reality. Do you think that just out of the blue, the perception we had, again, he didn't understand route running, Chad, do you think just perhaps if he would have caught that pass last week, that just maybe the perception would have been that we might need to hang on, hear his side of the story, and let the system play out properly? Mike, what do you think?
Well, he put Joe Philbin in a situation here. And you guys understand when a head coach comes in, he's trying to establish himself as the authority. And, all right, he gets rid of Brandon Marshall, who's a better and bigger receiver. Because, you know, in the East Side, we want to have a different kind of squad, a different kind of team. We don't need that one guy that's making all of this noise. That's what I'm saying. Then he brings in a Chad Johnson. And Chad's like, I'm going back to being crazy. I said, didn't you just read what this man said? Didn't you just read what this man said? And so now when you come in and you go and get in trouble, it's not just that you got in trouble. Your trouble has question, will put this man's authority in question. So now he has to get rid of you, or he can't talk like he needed to talk. Or he can't sit there and mess around his team. He just got here. He's telling his team he's not taking this. He's going to have a different kind of team. When you do it right away, man, you got to be Tom Brady or somebody. That's the only way you can get by with it, because now if he keeps you, he loses strength. You see what I'm saying? His team, the next guy may think, oh, man, Philbin just talking. He don't get rid of nobody. He ain't get rid of Chad. You can't put a man, especially a man that just got there, and trying to prove to the world that he's a head coach and he's head coaching material in that position. That goes back, again, I apologize, to maturity. Friends, it's not just about you. This is about other men. He got his family to feed, his family. He's not finna be putting his career, first time head coach, yes ma'am, his family and the Miami Dolphins in jeopardy because you want to mess around with a Hollywood hoop.
Hey, Mike, before we let you get on out of here, we got our point guard in the house.
God forgive me. I ain't even call nobody nothing. You know what I mean. I'm talking about
we know.
I'm talking about, listen, wait a minute. You're in an argument with your wife. Your wife. She knows you can't have nothing in the paper. She read. You so happy to sign. And when you get in an argument, I ain't saying I never touched a woman, never will, don't believe in any kind of problem, but I do know domestic abuse, but I do know families have arguments and disputes. You hop out of the car, run into the house of a neighbor while he's walking around the neighborhood yelling for you, looking for you. You know, you can't stop and you call the police and come and get him. I don't care about it. Come on, man. Wait, listen. My woman is still at home 27 years, and she had every reason to leave. If she had left, all I could do is throw myself on the mercy of the court. Are you serious? And you go through all. Man, I'm going to shut up before I get in trouble.
Listen. This is real. Bottom Line Sports Show Thursday night. Hall of Famer, legendary Mike Irvin. Playmaker, we got Penny Hardaway on the line with us.
Hey, what's up, Benny?
What's up?
How you doing, man? You been cutting all of y'all time, man. Let me get on.
No, man, you the man. Right, we enjoy what you do, man. We know you're going to keep it real. We know that.
Yeah, Benny, you got me going on all that Chad and everything stuff, man. I'm just, man, I'm like, wow, all this. I'm done. I'm done, man. You guys got what you need.
No, but you know what, though? It's reality.
It is reality.
Yeah, it is real, man. And we
did a service. You know how pastors in church get going and they get, you know, they want to get the people in church and you know, saying and shouting. You got to get into it. I'm the deacon, man. Hey, you preaching and I'm stopping up, I'm with you.
Very cool.
Makes sense.
It's reality. Listen, Mike, I know Penny, I know you wanted to say something briefly, and I'll let you, Charles, before we get ready for Tim Brown to come on, and definitely go ahead and close out the interview with Mike Irvin. Go ahead, Penny, first.
No, I would just say it's always a pleasure, man. You know, I'm a Cowboy for life. Always been and always will be a huge Michael Irvin fan. I've always loved him from when I first saw him play because of the energy that he gives, and he gives the same off the court. He's just real. And I just wanted to say thanks so much for coming on and being a part of the show.
Penny, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that, man.
Yeah.
Oak?
All right, Mike. Well, we're going to be crossing corners because I'm coming to a couple of Cowboys games. I don't know if you'll be there, but my schedule is a couple of Cowboys games this year. Last year I went when they played the Jets and a few other teams, but I'll be in Dallas a little, but I'll be in Miami.
Well, hit me up, man. Let me know, man. Penny, man.
No doubt.
You know, think the world of you, man. Keep doing your thing, too.
I appreciate it.
Same to you.
Hey, Mike, listen, thanks again. Really appreciate you taking time out. Best wishes in all that you do. And I will say this. I'm not a Cowboys fan anymore, but I always was a Dallas Cowboys fan, a Mike Irvin fan, and I'll always be that because, again, they don't make you like you anymore. They just don't make that type of player. And,
no, they don't.
Listen, thanks again. We really appreciate it. Continued success in all that you do. And listen, before the season winds down and things get crazy with the Super Bowl, come back on the show with us and talk some football, talk sports, just talk life in general.
We will definitely do that, man. Hey, you guys stay up and stay blessed.
Always a pleasure. Put your hands together. The playmaker. Guys, what's going on? 347-324-5839. Oak, you know, I want to first and foremost, I'm going to start with you, Oak. And, again, you did so much. Talk in depth about what you did in regards to the charity golf outing and the cause that was supported behind that. And then I want to get to you, Penny, as well as we get ready for Mr. Tim Brown.
It was just a busy week. I started off in Boston. I'm on the foundation of Jaden Ladder for Battle Females. We have 3 annual dinners a year, and we try to get a survivor to come in and tell the story about what happened in their life with their husband or with their other one. Left there, you know, came down to New York. Me and Jason Williams did a golf out on Monday for a shelter in Jersey. We had 150 people. You saw what I did. I had to cook food for 150 people, and it was successful. It was like 4 weeks ago we planned it, and we got it done in 4 weeks. It wasn't a big one, but we had enough 20-something foursome, you know, for a month in advance. That wasn't bad. Then I went down to Bristol. ESPN was great, off the chain. Talked about more training. It's a resistant band I wanted to develop on the team. It's coming out. We launched it. It's just a band that, you know, it work you out. It makes you jump high. You can, you know, your time in the 40. It just, you can do everything in it. You can run in it. You can do the electric slide in it. You can do rollers in it. So it's a band. It's like something that, you know, it's double value on your workout. Say you want to work out for an hour. This band is like 2 hours. Say you want to work out for 20 minutes. This band is 40 minutes. So it all is 3 pieces you put in your bag, and you can travel easy with it. And going on First Take for the first time, and, you know, listen to them guys. I listen to them all the time, so I finally got a chance to meet them, and, you know, I know them, but never sit down and have a talk with them like I did. That was good. The Herb Show, Dan Bell Show, 98.7 radio show. It was just, you know, Jamil Hill, and it was just great.
Hey, did you almost say 98 Did you feel like just saying 98.7 Kiss? You know, because used to be the 98.7 Kiss FM.
No, I know they bought them. I know. Check me out. I know. They said I almost said something else on the air, but I didn't. So I guess, you know, I got to keep on working on what I'm talking about. But I talk good. They like it.
Yeah, you did a great job. Penny, you're coming next week to be a part of a great event with President Barack Obama. Share some thoughts on that and what you'll be participating in.
Well, it's a huge honor, first of all, to even be chosen by those guys to be a part of anything that the president is a part of and doing. And, you know, from my understanding, it's going to be a camp and clinic, and then that will lead to later a dinner later that night with the president. And just like I said, to be in his presence, to be giving back to the community at the same time and helping his cause and his run for presidency again is a huge honor.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great event, great cause. Penny, what are some of the other individuals that are participating in that event?
I'm not really aware of the rest of the guys. I just knew I accepted right away. That's something that you don't wait long. You don't wait long to even to say yes. You say it right away because you know the magnitude of it. I do know maybe Austin Rivers is going to be there, Rajon Rondo. Those are a couple names that I know. But whoever was privileged enough to be invited, I'm sure hopefully they all, came accepted, and we'll have some fun.
There's going to be a lot of Brad Jordan people, I think, there. I think there's something really behind the dinner and all that. I think the Nike really got something,
Oh, cool.
I guess all the guys who there are going to be with Nike or Brad Jordan.
Cool.
Yeah. That's good. Here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, Charles Oakley, Penny Hardaway, Gerald Brown, Aaron Carter, Donahue Baker's in the house with us. You see how these Cowboys fans, they pop up. Everybody's a Cowboy fan tonight. The unit is in the house. Cowboy fans galore. They just you see how they just, all of a sudden, they start to, materialize. Just come out of nowhere. Cowboy fans up and down.
I don't think you want to see the Giants this year again.
Exactly.
There y'all go. Hey,
yeah,
there y'all go.
Here we go again.
Y'all go.
Howie sitting up there, went got his Mike Irvin jersey and stuff. Come on, Howie. Come on. Them days is over.
I have to. So, honestly, tonight we call him the playmaker, but he might be the preacher because he put on the sermon tonight.
Yeah, he
put on the sermon
today.
tonight.
Hey, let's get that collection together. You know they do in church. Have somebody give a good service. Pass that play around.
Hey, Penny, pull out your banjo and your harmonica, and we're going to get that collection music going. Guys, I want to ask you this as we wait for Tim Brown. I'm not going to hold you guys too long. The topic of sports has been the whole Washington Nationals starting pitcher 3 years in, Steven Strasburg, who's really coming off of the injury with Tommy John surgery. And basically the team, the Washington Nationals, are number one. They're the number one team in baseball with the best record. And essentially they have a chance to get to the World Series this year. Keep in mind, Washington hasn't had playoff baseball. It's been over 30-some-odd years or so. Oak, I'll ask you first, and then I'll go to you, Aaron, and work our way around to everybody. Is there a time and place that at what point should a player risk injury to help his team win?
Wow, baseball, that's a tough call. I know baseball, they're real sensitive about pitchers, especially after having the surgery and how many innings you pitch and your pitch count. It's a tough call. I know the kid want to play, but, people do scouting, they keep records, they understand situation. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt what they know. In that case, you might know your body a little more, but the first year they set him down in last year, he had, he got set down because he had, the surgery. But I don't know, man. That's a tough call. But they got a best record in the league, over the Yankees, Texas, and the Giants. But for them to go to the World Series, they're gonna need his, 4 or 5 innings. I don't know. I don't want to put my name out there, let him pitch or what he do, but you got to give them credit for what they're doing. They built the team.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, the Yankees, we went through that here in the tri-state area. The Yankees went this whole Jabba rules, and then inevitably he still had to have Tommy John surgery. When should a pro athlete really just say, put aside when should he risk the injury in order to win a championship? Because a World Series championship doesn't come around every single year unless you're the New York Yankees, and even then, nothing is guaranteed. Should they let him pitch? And when should an athlete just say, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, I think the best way to answer this is probably two ways. I think from an athlete's perspective, you're always going to try to play. We saw T.O. play in the Super Bowl just a couple weeks after breaking his leg. We saw Ronnie Lott give up a finger, to play football. We saw Willis Reed come out in the playoffs in the finals, I think, with a gimpy knee. So when you're out there, the player's always going to want to play no matter what. But it's up to management to step in, and be the voice of reason and kind of protect the player from himself. And I think that's what the Nationals are doing right now. And I got to applaud them for that because it's, you got to you got to delay the short-term gratification of playing in the playoffs and his chance for the World Series because of the long-term risk to his shoulder. He's already had Tommy John surgery once. I think they're making the right move by protecting him.
Penny, again, now you look at it from again from your vantage point. You were in a very similar situation where playing through injury along with a guy like Grant Hill, which inevitably kind of hurts you down the line. When is there a point where a player just says, you know what, I'll go out here because we're in this situation where you might not get back there? Is there a certain point, or is it just even worth the risk?
I don't think it's worth the risk. Because you don't know. Just because he plays doesn't mean that they're going to win a World Series. Right. I saw Curt Schilling do what he did, with the bloody sock, and people see all these heroic things, but you're still not promised to get there. If it was the Game 7, like when the Diamondbacks had Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson both pitched that game to beat the Yankees, that's different, but the playoffs haven't even started, and it's so early. I don't think you risk his career off of, trying to play him in the playoffs or whatever, because it's a long-term thing that they're thinking about. Now we're really set. We have a team. We can work on this and get better every year, and eventually it will come. But we're not going to try to play our ace right now, and then he's done for the rest of his career, then that makes our chances worse.
Howie, Mike Rizzo has taken a lot of heat, and rightfully so. He's standing his ground, but pitchers are really a delicate commodity, understanding that the Nationals have put a lot of money, invested a lot of money into this young man. But, Howie, they're very close. This is unexpected. How can this sit well with their fans long-term if they go into the first round of the playoffs and really lose 3 or 4 straight? When should this athlete, should he step up and say, you know what, I want to play and I'm going to play?
You know what, again, this is a management call. I think Aaron had some really great points. I think Penny also nailed it on the head. Sometimes management knows what's better for an athlete than themselves. But just to, to play devil's advocate, guys, I forget what the pitch count. I forget the innings pitch count that they said. Who came up with that number? Why couldn't it have been 10 innings less, 20 innings more? So it's just arbitrarily a number they probably have looked at over the time. I say, look, guys, tomorrow is not promised. The Washington Nationals might not ever make it back to the playoffs or ever make it to the World Series. Baseball is hard enough. There hasn't been baseball in Washington, Joe, like you said, in over 50 years. They've never won a championship. So you can play devil's advocate and say, you know what, let's roll the dice and let's see what happens. You roll the dice, you could end this kid's career. You can roll the dice, you can win your first World Series, and you never know, you might not ever have a chance to get back. So it's a tough call.
347-324-5839. Donahue, you're the owner of the Washington Nationals. You have invested a lot of money into the organization. You're in competition with the Baltimore Orioles fan base. You could potentially get to the playoffs, and let alone you get there and be in a very precarious situation where if your team does not do well, you're going to lose season ticket holders. Is there a backlash that could take place? Is it worth the risk?
That's a real interesting question. But I definitely would have to side with the side that says hold him back, only because that's the future of their franchise. He's a young player. He has a lot of time left. You don't want to see him injured. So I would say definitely hold him back. But the other thing, that the flip side of that is there's really no scientific proof to say that if you pitch him a certain number of innings, X number of things are going to happen. It's really no scientific proof to go either way. So, ultimately I think you have to leave it up to the player and the player's personnel or management to make the decision. And if management wants to hold it back, then, I think the fans have to understand that.
Yeah, we're going to Penny's going to finish up again. He's fixing greens for this weekend and stuff, and he don't want to burn up that cornbread that he got in that oven, that oven that heats by the sun and the outdoor rays and stuff. So, we're waiting on I was about to say Chris Brown, but Tim Brown, as well as Shannon Brown. We're going a little bit overboard tonight. We'll go to 11. But, guys, the next story that has been a very interesting one, and we're witnessing it tonight, the replacement referees. Now, there was a report that came out today that specified essentially what the NFL wants to do is make the referees full-time referees, as well as at the same time they want to cut their pay. They want to do a lot of training. D-Unit, is this something that just maybe is the right thing that needs to be done in as far as overall improving and enhancing the quality of the game?
I'm looking at the preseason games and the way that the refs were calling these games, and one thing I realized is that you really never miss the quality of refs that were on the field until you see some replacements come in there. And the NFL is at an all-time high. They're making the most money. It's only right that they share some of that wealth and give the refs, they need to give in, because it's going to affect the quality of the game. If every single game we debate about a call, or we debate about the calls or the officiating, it's going to definitely detract and lessen the brand. So I'm all for giving the refs more money, giving them additional benefits, and it's only right.
347-324-5839. Donahue Baker, Gerald Brown, Howie C., Aaron Carter, upcoming Tim Brown, as well as Shannon Brown, here on the Thursday night edition of the Bottom Line Sports Show. Howie C., as last time I recall, the NFL referees did make mistakes and clearly was not 100% accurate. Do you just think that this perception, once again, perception is reality, do you think that just maybe because of somebody putting this out in regards to replacement referees and officials, that ultimately the mind is already saying that these guys are not up to par? Last time I checked, football is football. But do you think that, again, cutting their pay, and again, it's arguments on both sides, but just looking at it from the standpoint of from the NFL side, do you think that it's about time that they start making these guys full-time individuals as opposed to part-time guys?
You know what? I'm all about the current referees getting what they deserve. But if you could tell me, guys, the last time we saw a perfect football game where we didn't argue about a call, and you nailed it, Joe. You said no one is perfect. The backup umpires are going to make a mistake. The guys that we've known for 20 years, or Hercules, they still make mistakes. The NFL has actually protected themselves because every touchdown is reviewable, and I believe they've also changed the challenge rule where they're going to be able to review almost most controversial plays. So they're kind of protecting the refs even more now. So I have a feeling, guys, we're going to see some of these replacement refs are going to become refs just because the rules have changed to protect the referees from making the mistakes that we've seen over the past few years.
Aaron, one of the things that Howie said about it, and again, I don't remember these guys being 100% correct. A lot of the calls that they made, because think about it this way. If they were 100%, not even say 100 because that's unrealistic. If they were 75% correct, 80%, we would not have instant replay in the game. Is there a situation where inevitably that the NFL is finally trying to get this thing right?
Well, I don't think they're getting it right. I think everybody kind of hit on the head. We're seeing a little bit of an overreaction because, we know there's replacement refs out there, and they're making mistakes, and it doesn't look good, and, but you guys are right. The regular NFL refs made mistakes, and I think the NFL, from a PR standpoint, I think they're taking a hit because you look at this huge $1 billion, I think the projection is something like $12 to $16 billion in income that the NFL make this season. And, the referees are asking for a very small percentage of that. And, it kind of makes the NFL look a little bit petty that they're quibbling with, this amount of money. And meanwhile, at stake is the integrity of the game if these games continue to be bad, if the refs don't continue to get better, which I think they will. But, I think from a PR standpoint, I think the NFL has gotten this wrong.
Yeah, and, one of the things I've always said about this, when you have those situations, listen, the NFL went to the last moment. They really took a hard line in the sand, if you will, going through the labor negotiations. We've seen now all of a sudden things start to transpire. with the Bounty Gate and that case where inevitably we thought conventional wisdom says, hey, listen, they don't want this black eye hanging over them or this black cloud, if you will, hanging over them. Try to make a settlement, move forward. They have gone the extreme. They've gone to the extreme and fought. And that's one thing about the NFL. They will stand strong. And yes, maybe that's what makes the NFL what it is. That's what probably makes it, like you said before, $12 billion, whatever. This is the things that, again, they're very strong. They will not bend. Okay, they will not break. They might bend, but they won't break. And one of the other things that's really taken place is the NFL files evidence to the federal judge to really support the whole case against Jonathan Vilma. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Jonathan Vilma has gone to court and really, really put together a lawsuit to really has a lawsuit. He has a defamation claim against Roger Goodell, but really out to, again, have his suspension overthrown. Aaron, how surprised are you that this suspension, or better yet, that this has gone on thus far and the NFL has not looked to try to, figure out a way to come to some type of resolution and get it out of the court system and thus, minimize his suspension?
I am pretty surprised, but from reports, from what it sounds like they tried to settle. But I was listening to Dan Le Batard on one of the ESPN shows, and he was talking. He said he knows a little bit of Jonathan Vilma and knows him as a person. He says he's a guy who stands on principle, and if he thinks that he's been wronged in this situation, he's not going to settle. So it looks like Roger Goodell might have tangled with the wrong guy.
It's been really interesting how to see them. Roger Goodell, and again, Jonathan Vilma seems like he's the only one that's fighting. And, again, everybody else has taken, if you will, they accepted their punishment and thus moved forward. Kind of surprised that Jonathan Vilma is pretty much out on the island by himself.
Yeah, but Jonathan Vilma got the whole year. I mean, everybody else besides, and Sean Payton, but everybody else got a few games. They could return after 4 games. They could return after 8 games. Again, like Aaron said, he's a man of character, and he's defending his name. So it's almost like the NFL versus Jonathan Vilma, which it is. I had also heard if he had dropped the defamation suit, they would have probably reduced it to 8 games. The NFL, they must have something, guys, on him. Because they're not going to stop this. They're not going to continue to just let this go. So there has to be some evidence there, guys. And I'm surprised that it's playing out this long. But at the NFL, like you said, they're bend, but they won't break, Gerald. And there's some shrewd owners, and they have shrewd lawyers, and they're going to defend their case against Jonathan Vilma.
The unit, does this put the NFL in a situation where they could potentially look bad, or are we just in a situation now that it's very, very hard to embarrass the NFL because we love football in this country?
Well, definitely. It's very, very hard to embarrass the NFL unless somebody does something really boneheaded. What I thought they were very skillful in the draw by averting a rumor that came out that apparently, I don't know how or who leaked it, but there was a rumor that leaked that they had come to some sort of 8-game reduction to Jonathan Vilma. They jumped on it, apparently, and squashed it and said, oh, no, now, there was never any settlement out there. But the fact of the matter is, if they would have settled, that would have set a dangerous precedent. And, the fact that they're basically going to battle this out and, stick to their guns, it's showing that, Roger Goodell is serious and they're willing to go to the mat against anybody that steps up to the challenge.
Yeah, and it's really weird. I don't even know if you can really say weird, perhaps more than ever, because the NFL, they're very staunch, and I think that's why I can honestly say they perhaps are the best well-run pro sports organization, or just pro sports in general as a whole in the world. We see the issues that's transpired. A lot of people were in uproar with a lot of the things that Roger Goodell had implemented coming in when he took over for Commissioner Paul Tagliabue. We understand that when guys, granted, they're still going to get in trouble. However, you know you're going to have to face the sheriff, and you're going to have to pay the piper. Regardless of whatever you do, you don't start thinking twice. Inevitably, you're going to have to face Mr. Roger Goodell, and he has become the judge and the jury here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, 347-324-5839. Guys, Cowboys fans, you, Donahue and Howie and all the Cowboys Nation, the Cowboys are really banged up, and now you add another guy who is a crucial piece to the offense success with the Cowboys, and Jason Witten going down with a spleen injury. Howie, spleen injury, how serious could this be potentially? Are you worried, being that it's only week 2 in the preseason? Or should you be? Is there a sense of concern that, again, this could be some problems right out the gate for this franchise?
Yeah, you have to be concerned. Jason Witten is only 51 catches away from passing the gentleman, Hall of Famer we had on the show tonight, is the all-time leading receiver in Dallas Cowboy history as a tight end. So I'm very concerned. He's Tony Romo's security blanket. He's his Linus. Miles Austin's still battling with hamstring injuries. We do have Ogletree, and we're going to also have Holmes. But, you can't really replace a Jason Witten in the blocking scheme as well as catching. So it is a voice for concern. It really is right now.
Don, you look at the fact is that there's been reports that Felix Jones has not been looking very impressive. DeMarco Murray, again, granted, it came out a good portion of the season, played very well, and thus he was injured. How much do you look at this preseason to evaluate your offense, or is it realistically you're just trying to make sure you don't lose any other guys on that offensive side of the ball?
Nah, you're definitely looking at the preseason to evaluate the offense. And if you're looking objectively as a fan or not, looking at the Cowboys, you absolutely have to be concerned. Not only concerned about the injuries, but just concerned about that offensive line, concerned about the health of Tony Romo for 16 games. If anything, it's a real serious situation. And to make matters worse, not only did they lose Jason Witten, which, that's a big deal all in itself, but then to lose Bill Nagy, the backup center, who's already playing, pushed into the starting lineup because they lost their starting center, they put him on the waiver wires and he gets picked up. So it's like they have no depth at center right now. They are really, really hurting, really in trouble, and I'm extremely concerned because if you can't protect Tony Romo, it's no hope for the organization. So, really, that to me, that's like the biggest concern going into the start of the season.
Aaron, are we looking at potentially, inevitably, the Dallas Cowboys struggling right out the gate to start the season?
I mean, Michael Irvin hit it right on the head. You start off with the Giants, when they're going to get their Super Bowl rings on the road. You go into Giants Stadium. Then you have back-to-back winnable games you absolutely have to get against Seattle and Tampa Bay. Those are 2 games because you can't start off 0-3. If you lose that first one to the Giants, you got to beat Seattle, you got to beat Tampa, and then you're home in Week 4 against the Bears, and then Week 5 is a bye. So if you can get to that bye week about 2-2, I think you're okay. Going to that bye week, maybe you get some guys healthy. But if you go in there 1-3, and plus you got to play the AFC North schedule, so you got the Steelers, you got the Ravens coming up. Could be a long season down in Texas.
Yeah, I think if anything, one thing that really hurts them, in my honest opinion, is the fact is that you got to come out and inevitably you're facing a divisional foe right out the game. And that's not good at all because one of the things you can say is, listen, if we struggle out the gate, at least we can still fall back on our divisional record. And honestly, it could be potentially a 2-team race that you would look at if you're the Dallas Cowboys, that you could sit back and say, this could be an issue for us, and that being the New York Giants as well as the Philadelphia Eagles. But their first 4 games could potentially be a very, very tough sledding for them. Not only they start, like Aaron said, in New York, They come back a week later, and they're actually in Seattle, traveling cross country to go play in Seattle. They play my beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, which will be their first home game. And then they got the Monday night game where they welcome in a very, very improved Chicago Bears team. And then they have that bye. And Howie, this is I wanted to ask you. Having a bye such an early point in time during the course of the season, I think we mentioned this on Tuesday, having the bye at that point in time of the season, at this juncture right now, with the injuries piling up, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing?
Yeah, you know what? The bye always depends on how your on the injuries on your team. You know, an early bye, I never liked an early bye. I kind of liked it a little bit late when the guys are kind of banged up. But our guys are already kind of banged up right now in the preseason. So this early bye might favor the Cowboys. But like Aaron said, the rest of their schedule, the last 6 games, we start. You know, we play. You know, the AFC North. We get I think the Ravens week 6 after the bye. So the bye might be important this year early for us, Joe. And also to add what Donnie was saying, last year's left tackle is playing right tackle, and then our right tackle from last year is playing left tackle. So the tackles have also switched. So I'm very concerned. I kind of don't want Tony Romo to play in the preseason anymore after looking at the Raider game when he got sacked 3 times in the first quarter.
Yeah, it doesn't get easy at all. I think, if anything, you look at that whole schedule, and we ran it down, I believe it was on Tuesday night. You have a bye that early, you can realistically say that you're going to be playing from October 14th all the way until December 30th with no break at all. And if you're already a banged-up team, it could get very, very difficult. Here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, Gerald Brown, Donahue Baker, Aaron Carter, Howie C., 347-324-5839. Waiting on Tim Brown. Got a little scheduling conflict with Tim Brown, but we're also waiting on the Shannon Brown. Shannon Brown and Meet the Browns. It's Meet the Browns tonight here on the Bottom Line Sports Show. Guys, San Francisco Giants. Again, the big talk has been in baseball with Steven Strasburg, but also this was something that was kind of surprising. And I think we had mentioned this the other day with Melky Cabrera, San Francisco Giants right fielder, who was having an unbelievable season. Really a young man that came through the New York Yankees system, did some great, great things, was really, again, not in the plans long term, and I was really disappointed when they got rid of him. But at the end of the day, you had a situation that came about with Brett Gardner, who he was able to develop. But Melky Cabrera, on the cusp of getting a major, major contract, being a free agent, was suspended by baseball for testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs. Essentially, he's going to miss 50 games. So for all intents and purposes, he will miss the rest of the season. And if the team is able to advance in the playoffs, he would be able to play perhaps in the next round. Aaron, Victor Conte, the man that was behind everything with Balco and all the stuff, made a very interesting statement today that, once again, we thought that the steroid talk was over, said and done with. It's back. And basically Victor Conte, the founder of Balco, basically came out to say that, quote, I'm not going to name names, interview he did with USA Today, but I've talked to a lot of the top players in Major League Baseball, and they tell me this, what they're doing. There is rampant use of synthetic testosterone in Major League Baseball. Aaron, how surprised are you that this situation still exists?
I'm not surprised at all. Nothing surprises me when we're talking about the kind of money that's potentially on the line. I mean, guys looked at, you look at a guy like Alex Rodriguez, who admitted to using steroids. He got a couple of $200 million contracts, and you juxtapose that with the potential risk of losing 50 games. Well, that's nothing compared to, like you said, Melky Cabrera is up for he's going to be a free agent. He could have made a big payday if he got through the season playing well like he was. So from that standpoint, it's almost, for the guys who want to do it, it's worth it for them. You lose 50 games, sure, but if you don't get caught, now you set yourself up for a $150 million contract. So I'd like to see, the penalties be a little bit stiffer for these guys. We're talking about using steroids. We're talking about using, testosterone. Why give 3 strikes for that and you're out? Why not the first one be 100 games? To make it less worth it.
Yeah, and this is another black eye, D-Unit. And if some of the people, again, testosterone helps build muscle mass quickly and aids in recovery time for athletes. But its use carries health risks like liver, heart, and circulatory damage. So the thing about it is that's what the testosterone, and I think the perception that, Don, we've always had with something of steroids, you would see the big, bulky guys breaking bats with their teeth and over their legs, and they're just hitting mammoth home runs. It actually helps guys be able to recover from injuries quicker. Don, Major League Baseball, for a guy of Victor Conte's stature and being the guy that really, again, him along with Jose Canseco, exposed the drug, the performance-enhancing drugs use in Major League Baseball. Is this a black eye for baseball once again because it's coming from a reliable source?
Well, I definitely think it is. The fact of the matter is, there's always going to be people out there that want to cheat and get ahead, get an unfair advantage. I mean, I'm sure it's happening in the Olympics. There's been allegations that we just got through. It's a part of sports, guys. I mean, this is the day and age we live in. It's going to be a part of sports until forever going forward, just based on the way technology is going. So that's being the case, we have to just come up with, try to stay ahead of the curve and try to stay ahead of technology. Times are going to come where, people are going to, they're going to catch up and people are going to outsmart the testers. And it's going to be a cat and mouse game, and that's just how it's going to be. So I'm not surprised one bit, Joe. And it's definitely a black eye if it surfaces again. It's one thing when you have a player like Melky, who is a great player, but not just necessarily a household name. But if a household name was to get caught or exposed, or that argument leaks back in again, then it's really, really devastating to the game. And we've seen that happen when some of the league's major stars fell during the steroid era.
Yeah, and the thing is, I just want to give everybody an update. We're still working on Tim Brown. Shannon Brown is running a little bit late. He's doing another interview. We're going to 11. So once Shannon Brown finishes up, we're going to get him on. And Tim Brown was still working on that. Kudos to Karita Parks handling all the stuff behind the scenes. Howie, we just saw Ryan Braun, Milwaukee Brewers, MVP last year, had a great year. And it felt like we were getting back to normal, where you could watch a baseball player hit home runs, look good out there, and you sit back and say, wow, that's nothing but pure athleticism, God-given talent and ability. Now you have a situation right after that, he gets the award, ho-hum, he tests positive for PEDs. Now we're having a situation now where a marginal player in Melky Cabrera, and on top of that, now that Victor Conte comes out and says this, does this change the way we look at our baseball players?
Gerald, I think Aaron nailed it on the head. We're not surprised by anything that happens with pro athletes, taking drugs, having DUIs. We're not surprised at it. But you guys got to remember one thing. We live in a capitalist society, guys. People cheat in normal day life with the potential to make more money. From Enron to the mortgage crisis to the banks. This is a social issue in our society, in our country. People cheat for the potential to make more money. So we shouldn't be surprised when a baseball player does it or when a CEO goes down with a Fortune 500 company. This is society, and this is the way it is now.
Real quickly, let's follow up. Let's finish up this topic before we move on, and I'll ask you a yes or no. You're in a situation where you're like a Melky Cabrera. Don, do you take the steroid and basically try to secure that big contract, or you don't do it?
I just wouldn't do it. Me personally, it's just I wouldn't do it just based on the integrity thing. I would rather, if I'm a superstar, I want to be a superstar based on my laurels, my skill set, and my talents.
Aaron, you're a fringe player. You come from a Dominican Republic. You come from mediocre. Again, you come from really situations where you don't come from an affluent background. You're Melky Cabrera. You got this opportunity that you have been waiting on. Do you take the performance in that? Do you take the risk that he took?
If I'm Melky Cabrera, no, because I'm a veteran in the league. But I look at it. If I'm a minor leaguer and I'm on the fringes and I'm 25 or 26, and I'm riding on that hot bus and I'm only making $40,000 a year, then I really got to think about it, because there's so much money to be made.
Yeah, I think Howie. We've known the guys to come from these, countries, with third world countries. Listen, baseball is the way they get off that island. Like we said before, the Jamaicans, they run to get off that island. Howie, do you sympathize with these athletes when they take these drugs because of the enormous amount of money that's being put forth to them?
Joe, if the Yankees called me right now and gave me a shot to make the team, I would call Victor Conte right now and take as many pills as I had to for the opportunity, guys. If I was 40 or if I was 20, guys, the third world countries, these guys lie about their ages on the birth certificates so they can get in and be a little bit younger than they really are. So I'm not surprised if you're coming from a third world country or you're coming from the United States of America. You're going to sometimes have to cheat to get an advantage over the next guy because you know what? The guy next to me is cheating. He got a $100 million contract. Maybe it's time for me. If I'm a marginal player or if I'm a superstar, I wouldn't be surprised by anything right now.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you.
That whole I don't know. I just think that some people actually care about the legacy that they leave, and I know people that just they would not want to have anything marginal or superstar. They wouldn't want to have anything attached negative attached to their legacy. I just don't necessarily believe
the home run king right now is Barry Bonds. I think Barry Bonds is a very proud man. Barry Bonds has never admitted to taking steroids, okay? And I think Barry Bonds cares about his legacy, but at the end of the day, Barry Bonds had to do, or allegedly had to do, what he felt he needed to do. And I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm not saying that everybody does, Don, but it would not surprise me because your legacy means one thing, but there's also greed and there's also wealth. And I think sometimes that might supersede my legacy when I need to have money and I need to pay my bills. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel on certain topics.
I would have to agree. I mean, let's look at it from this standpoint, and I think the key thing is when you come from, again, a third world country where you're walking around with shoes made out of a milk carton, this is an opportunity. That's why we see these guys lie about their age. It's just one of those situations. And I think inevitably you're talking about the money that's being offered to be able to take care of your family, your family's family. There are a lot of things at stake. And I think it's one thing that if you come from a situation where you come from a very affluent side of the family and you got money and all that other stuff, well, yeah, that really doesn't make any sense. However, when these guys get caught, I think that, it's no way to try to educate them as far as baseball is coming back. Listen, I always believed in what Victor Conte had said before. When they caught everybody with the cream and all this other stuff, they already had what they're using now. They've had that for a while. And I think inevitably they are already starting to work on even more stuff to really keep stay one step ahead of Major League Baseball. And it's a situation that I think that baseball is really going to have a hard time. And it's really unfortunate because I tell you this, and we'll move on after this. When I watched Usain Bolt during the Olympics in the track and field, I was in awe of, the way it was such ease and grace and how fluid this guy was looking to be as tall as he is and actually really just so far out front of the talent that the guys that he was racing against. He would break it down much farther away from the finish line than these guys. And the thing that I said, this is the time that we live in, and this is the culture that we are a part of now, that once he crossed that finish line, the first thing I thought about was, I wonder if he's taking steroids. I really said that. I just was like, I wonder if he's taking steroids. One player, one player in baseball that if you heard that he was taking steroids would really shock you and surprise you. Or is there a player?
In baseball or just sports in general?
Baseball. I would say baseball because I'm very certain. I'm interested to find out again why nobody in basketball has ever been caught or there's been any allegations with them. But
I mean, I don't think today there's one player in baseball. The one player in baseball that did surprise and shock me and, kind of changed my whole perspective on the issue was Andy Pettitte, who I admired, very similar to the way, people admire Tim Tebow. Andy Pettitte was that guy, and for him to come out and, admit to it and then incriminate other people, that really changed my perspective, and I wouldn't be shocked the least bit. So if Andy could do it, anybody can do it.
Aaron, one baseball player or professional sports player that we found out was taking PEDs would really, really surprise you and disappoint you.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, the first name that popped in my head was the captain, Derek Jeter. If that, if that got found out, then it's over. It's the innocence of baseball is gone. It might already be gone, but if the captain got found out, that would be bad. But I also want to throw this in real quick because we talked about this culture of cheating right now, and I just want to remind this isn't new. This taking drugs to get an advantage. My dad played in the NBA in the 70s. And greenies, amphetamine, speed was rampant all across NBA locker rooms or any sports locker rooms. And, I've talked to him about it. He told me, who are some of the guys that were doing it, who are some of the guys that weren't doing it. And so this, it's not a new thing. The only thing now is it's gotten more sophisticated and it's gotten better because the dollars have changed and there's so much more money at stake.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you're right about that. That's when guys were taking amphetamines and, the NBA went through a time where they were dealing with guys taking, the cocaine and they did a great job of, really cleaning that up. But it's just one of those situations where baseball is not able to shake this sort of black cloud. Howie C., last question, what baseball player or athlete would really surprise you if you turned around and said, oh, my God, and they found out that he was taking performance-enhancing drugs?
Yeah, I think Aaron nailed it on the head again. I think if we found out that the captain had been taking steroids for all of these years, Mr. New York, Mr. November, it probably would hurt more than it would kind of shock me, I think. I would say it's funny you mentioned basketball, Gerald. We don't talk about the athletes who are now going overseas and they're going to they're going to Germany to get the treatment on their knees and their elbows. And some of these treatments are kind of they use drugs in those treatments, guys, during surgery that are kind of suspect. A lot of those are not approved FDA procedures here in America. But we don't question that. But we do question when a man puts in his body, regardless if it's going to make him healthy, hit more home runs, or if it's going to cause him liver damage at the end of the road. My thing is, do we really care? Do we really care? But for some reason, we do. And guys are going to continue to do this because they want to make more and more money.
Yeah, well, Howard, you got to look at the fact is, listen, Major League Baseball's All-Star Game festivities is centered around a home run derby, how far guys can hit the home runs and all of that stuff. So Major League Baseball has profited off of this. And I think the key thing is just almost like, again, what we found out with football, turning a blind eye, where they used to acknowledge and sort of, again, receive and reward the big hits and all that stuff. And now we're looking at a changing of the guard where they're saying no more of that. Or we can't associate ourselves with that. It's just one of those situations where, baseball, they make a living off of that. It'd be very sad and very interesting if it was somebody in basketball, and I really wouldn't be surprised. But the player that I would be the most surprised, not Derek Jeter. I would be surprised with Derek Jeter somewhat, I really would. But Tim Tebow, I think I would be very surprised if we found out Tim Tebow, huh?
You said baseball, though.
Well, I said athlete. You're right in baseball. I'm sorry, but I think Derek Jeter would be. I mean, Derek Jeter is synonymous with class, dignity. He's very well respected, not only in New York, but Major League Baseball, as a whole. And he's been able to do it for so many years. So I think, Derek Jeter and maybe Mariano Rivera, guys that are just likable guys and, guys that are really put up on a pedestal and really looked upon as sort of the faces of Major League Baseball. Talking about a guy that was up on a pedestal, and it looks like he's going to make his return tomorrow night. Terrell Owens is set to play early for the Seahawks tomorrow night against the Denver Broncos in a preseason game. Aaron, what can we expect to see from T.O.? And if T.O. goes out there and has a monster game, do we start to look, in fact, and say, you know what, again, this guy still can't produce, or is it just preseason?
Well, I think it's just preseason. I'm not sure what to expect, and not because, I think T.O.'s lost its step. We saw the 40 time. It's a little bit faster than any time he's ever run, but my question is Russell Wilson and Matt Flynn, the quarterbacks that are supposed to get him the ball. I'm one of the few people in Philadelphia who was upset when the Eagles gave T.O. the boot. I know he brought some of it on himself, but we weren't talking about troubles with the law or drugs or alcohol or anything like that. You have poor relationships in the locker room. And it's a bad thing, but I think the Eagles kind of, cut their nose and spiked their face on that. But long story short, I'll be rooting for T.O. and I hope he's still productive in the league, but it's gonna depend on the quarterbacks in Seattle. Can they get him the ball?
Aaron Carter, Gerald Brown, Howie C, Donnie Baker, Bottom Line Sports Show Thursday night edition 347-324-5839. Still working on getting on Tim Brown on the line as well as Shannon Brown. Howie C, it's reported that again he's looked good in practices. We've heard great positive practice reports about Braylon Edwards, but it seems like. Again, T.O. is buried on the team's depth chart this week, thus far, that was released this week. Is it just one of those situations where, listen, if he comes out and let's say he misses that first pass or second pass, like what we saw when we said with Chad Johnson, perception is reality. If he doesn't come out and look good, do we look at this and say, you know what? It's probably since Father Time has caught up and it's over, or is it just a situation that's only one game?
It's only one game. It's a preseason. You got to remember, the man missed an entire year of NFL. So if he drops a pass or two, I think we're going to give him. I think we might give him a pass. But again, you're only as good as the guy who actually throws you the ball. And with the wide receivers that they have on the Seahawks, you said Braylon Edwards, Sidney Rice. T.O. could clearly be a number two, possibly a number one by week 3, depending on how their season goes. They got Marshawn Lynch. Looks like he's going to avoid a suspension. So I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if we kind of see what he did in Cincinnati. Maybe 8 touchdowns, 700, 800 yards. It would not surprise me. And the NFC West, they don't have the strong defenses anyway. So he might really do well out there.
Don, I'm under the belief that he needs to come out tomorrow. And he needs to show that he still has it. He needs to catch at least 3 or 4 passes. He needs to have some strong showing to really elevate him not only in that depth chart, but perhaps even make this team. Agree or disagree?
I agree with you right up until the point where you said in order to make the team. I think he makes the team regardless. I think the T.O. definitely needs at least one big play. I would say big play like a big, like a 40-yard, 50-yard game, possibly a TD, in order to let people know this is a T.O. that we all know. We all remember. Just because people have written him off. Last year he was basically left for dead. Coming off the injury, not having the same burst that he had before, people had wrote him off. So I think he needs to do something emphatic, dramatic, to make a statement, just to get the point across that I'm back.
And D-Unit, great minds think alike. I totally agree with you. But see, here again, where I think that his roster spot is not 100% secured. And I think that the way we look at NFL preseason games now, you got to see progress from guys. You're evaluating your team, and that's the way we look at it. We are so, and I'm saying we, football lovers look at the game and you want to evaluate guys. I think Braylon Edwards showed that he could still play in this NFL, catching that long touchdown pass. Those things count for something, and I think inevitably, listen, if he comes out tomorrow and he stinks it up, I think that they could possibly let him go and give him an opportunity to make somebody else's roster. If he does not play well, Howie, does he make another team?
I mean, I think he's going to be on the Seahawks. You know what? I don't think they have that many better wide receivers than T.O. We got to see what he can do, of course. But I think, Joe, even if he doesn't have a great game, and a wide receiver can't have a bad game except a lot of bad drops, they're going to still give this guy another shot because, again, you got Braylon Edwards coming off an injury. You got Sidney Rice, who's had an up-and-down career so far. You got to give T.O. a shot. I do agree with Don. He is going to have, it would be great to see him have a popcorn play, maybe a touchdown, maybe a 20-yard reception. But I think he makes his team regardless. I really do.
Aaron, I'm under the belief that they would do him a favor if he doesn't play well tomorrow, and again, he's not getting the reps in practice. He's buried on the depth chart. They do him a favor and cut him loose and give him an opportunity to make somebody else's team. If he doesn't play well, Aaron, does he still make a team if he doesn't make it with the Seahawks?
It depends on how he doesn't play well. If he's dropping balls, and I think it's a wrap. I think if he's dropping balls and he's complaining to the quarterback that he's not getting the ball, I think it's a wrap. But if he's out there running routes and the quarterbacks just can't get him the ball because the offensive line can't protect him, or the quarterback just can't throw it to him, I think he sticks around. I think, you look at that receiving corps, they have a lot of names, like how he said, but they don't have a whole lot of, established number one dominant receivers. And I think that there's a spot on there for him.
Well, I don't think he's a number one anymore. I think he's a great – listen, one thing you can always say – I think that, again, what we have seen in the past at T.O., great, in great shape. He's an individual that when he gets on that football field, he produces, and that's why he's getting this opportunity. Staying in shape. I just think inevitably, you're coming off a knee injury. You're in a situation where you got some competition, and it's a question of, are you going to be happy having a guy that old just standing around and being buried on the depth chart? When you have a team like the New York Jets, who, I'll say it again and again and again and again, I'm still flabbergasted why they have not reached out as of yet, and maybe they're doing this as they get closer to the start of the season so you don't have to pay the guy guaranteed money, and bringing in Plexico Burress, where, there are teams out there that's going to need wide receiver help. Maybe T.O. would get a look down in Jacksonville. I think the key thing has been getting that first team to take a chance on him. And who knows, maybe this is an opportunity where somebody within his management company that knows within his management company that has relationships with Pete Carroll and the brass that with the Seattle Seahawks, and they're saying, hey, look, do us a favor, bring him to camp. You already know we're not going to keep him, but this gives an opportunity that it's like, okay, well, one person or one team already took the leap of faith, and thus we don't feel bad, and it won't be such a hoopla surrounding us if we decide to do the same thing moving forward. So, it's a lot that's on him, and I think that this is big. He has to show something because he's going to get an opportunity to play, and that's going to be a situation moving forward. Here on the bottom line, go ahead.
Let me just piggyback off that. If T.O. gets cut, if the Seahawks cut T.O., other teams around the league are going to say, well, hold up. If he couldn't make that roster, why do you think I want to give him a shot? Why do I want that type of personality on my football team if he doesn't have the talent to make the Seahawks? So if he gets cut, he's finished.
Well, I think that, no. What I think of it, let's look at it this way. let's look at it this way. He goes out tomorrow. He plays great. But you're in a situation where numbers games. You know, is he a guy, you know, you got young guys there. You know, again, you have some young guys there. You paid a ton of money to Sidney Rice. He's still there. You know, Golden Tate. And I'm just throwing out names. Golden Tate, Braylon Edwards, whatever. And it becomes a situation where, production standpoint, you look at the production, and then at the same time, if they're sort of on an even keel, when I'm using Braylon Edwards as well as a guy like Terrell Owens, if they're on the same, or they're on an even keel, Braylon Edwards is a lot younger, than T.O. So inevitably, you can sit back and say, well, hey, listen, we're going to go with the young guy and Braylon Edwards as opposed to T.O., and then you cut him. I still think he gets an opportunity based upon that. You haven't heard anything, and then clearly, listen, if Pete Carroll comes out and says, listen, man, he was a model citizen, it just became a numbers game, and everybody gets a chance to see how he performs tomorrow, I think he gets another chance. I really believe so, and I would be very hard-pressed to see how he didn't, and that would be something that be really interesting moving forward. Guys, talking about moving forward, and it's one of these weird situations where I think that, you know, the college football, and again, college football has made great strides in regards to finally figuring out, let's get a playoff system. But something that's really just stuck out to me, former cornerback, looks like he's a safety, Tyrann Mathieu, was really the I guess, if anything, the Heisman Trophy candidate for the team this year, was kicked off the team last Friday, and really what is being told now, a violation of school substance abuse policy, really just months after he wore the Benaric Award for Nation's Best Defensive Player as a sophomore, and really having the opportunity also finishing as a finalist for the Heisman, which is the first defensive player since 1997. But now that there has been a situation where inevitably it feels like it's been sort of a ring around the rosy. It's like, you know, the merry-go-round or ring around the rosy. He has not decided what he's going to do in regards to a school. Now, there's reports that clearly they dismissed him from the program. That was the talk. Then they were saying that he could go to a FCS school, which is, again, a lower tier level school that he could actually play. You know, McNeese State and Nichols State, schools in Louisiana that he can inevitably play this year. And thus, we were looking at the fact that clearly he would play perhaps maybe 1 year and then move forward to the NFL. But now that there's been talk about that he perhaps might stay in school, it really has just been a lot of stuff that's been going on. There was reports that he would have decided this week. School is pretty much getting ready to start or has already started. Should there be a rule in place, Howie, that forces these young guys, if they're transferring to another school, that they have a certain time limit? And really, has this played out a little too long?
You know what? If you were going to transfer to another BCS school, of course you'd have to sit out a semester and then play. But if you go to a lower tier school, you can play immediately. You know what? No one knows what this young man's going to do. But I know he visited McNeese State, I believe, over the weekend. But I would be surprised, guys, if he actually did leave LSU. The fact that they're leaving the door open for him, let this young man take a season of football off, get your mind in the right place. Actually be a student athlete maybe for the first time, come back the following year and play for LSU. I bet you would also improve his draft stock as well. And I think LSU is probably thinking about it a little bit more because reportedly there's at least 25 to 30 schools that have already reached out to him, and probably some BCS schools that said, hey, you know what, sit out a year. You can come here and play or go to a lower-layer school. So I would be surprised if he actually left LSU. Sit out a year, my friend. Get your mind right. Come back. Be a better citizen and a better football player.
He dropped two of the...
Get your mind right.
Yeah, he dropped two of them, and that's what he needs to do. Don, you look at a situation where listen, he's not the first player. You look at a young man, Janoris Jenkins, had several run-ins while at the University of Florida. Thus, he went to a FCS school, North Alabama, gets drafted, goes to the St. Louis Rams. When you go that route, you still have an opportunity to sort of rebuild your image. If you were Tyrann Mathieu and being in a situation, would it make sense to stay at LSU, sit out for a year, and then come back and play for the school next year? Or do you put yourselves in a situation where you go to another school, perhaps try to start all over, play this season, and really enhance your draft stock?
Yeah, I definitely think it makes a lot of sense to sit out a year because, number one, it's going to show the people in the NFL, number one, a certain sense of maturity. And that's what he needs to display right now. He needs to display maturity. He needs to, come out and say, well, this is the mistake I made. I'm on a new path. I'm going a different route. Second thing is, if he was to go to another school, anything can happen. He doesn't have the prototypical NFL body. Even though he's a playmaker, he's a dynamic player, he's 5'8". He's 5'8", and he weighs about 180-something. That's not an NFL body by any stretch of the imagination. So automatically, when you throw in the additional problems associated with him, he's already looking at, possibly a round 3 projection going in the draft. Not a great position to make a lot of money. So for his future, take the extra year, go, try to land yourself, try to rehabilitate your image and land yourself somewhere at the end of round 1. And I think it'll be well worth his efforts if he does so.
Aaron, I think if anything, inevitably the bright lights and all the success and the expectation that have been placed on him along with the LSU and the SEC. Listen, the SEC is the junior NFL. You're either Tyrann's uncle, mother, father, whatever, uncle or father, brother. What do you tell him? Do you tell him to stay? Or do you tell him to go somewhere where, again, the lights might not be that bright, and thus he could be the big fish in the small pond?
No, I think everybody hit it right on the head. I think what's best for him is to stay at LSU, to sit out a year, and what you're hoping for is for him to gain some perspective. You're hoping that he sits out a year, he doesn't have football in his life, he realizes how important it is to him and how much it means to him, and that's what you got to hope for. You got to hope for he loses something, but he gains some perspective and can still, get himself on the right track and on a path towards the NFL if that's what he ultimately wants to do.
Yeah, I think that inevitably, listen, I think, at the end of the day, listen, LSU is going to be able to recruit. That's SEC. That is sort of a machine in its own right. They are going to be able to recruit. It's like Florida. It's like Alabama. Those schools will be able to recruit. So when you lose a guy like Tyrann Mathieu, you're going to be able to find others down the line. I think the best advice that, and again, just really from the outside, looking from the outside in, I really think that inevitably this is a young man that perhaps maybe needs to go to another school where, being able to put stuff in its proper perspective and place everything and understand how close he is to being in a situation where you are going to go to the NFL. And I think just maybe being in that situation at LSU, you take things for granted. And I don't think that it helps by him sitting out a year because, listen, he was doing this stuff back then, the drugs, and again, it's reported a violation of the drug use. If he's doing that stuff after winning an award, well, you already have this mindset that inevitably you're already a pro. And for all intents and purposes, let's be honest about it, he is a pro. These kids go to those schools to go to the NFL. It's not they're going to go there and hopefully make it. No, you're going to the SEC. You're going to be in the NFL, at some point in time. And I think he needs to go somewhere else. So I think I was kind of surprised to see and hear that, that they still leave the door open for him to be able to possibly return, be a student, and really be able to monitor him. I just think that it might be the wrong idea moving forward for this guy. And just doesn't really look like it could be a situation that inevitably will pan out for him. Here on the Bottom Line Sports Show, 347-324-5839. Really interesting night. Shannon Brown, he's still on the interview. He's coming on momentarily. But, again, we're going to probably have to close up shop a little bit, Shannon Brown, and we got some information. We're going to reschedule with Tim Brown as Tim Brown. So it's one of those nights, but still in all, we added another Hall of Famer to the growing list of individuals that are Hall of Fame individuals. So I think I'll tell you something, guys, that deserve a round of applause, but also just utter boos that, really bad. I would have the fortunes of being out at the golf outing by once former New Jersey Net, Philadelphia 76er, Jason Williams put together, and really to benefit the homeless. It was really a golf outing on the fly, but Charles Oakley got a chance to cook, and we got some very good footage. We're going to put that up on the website, and we've been posting pictures all up on Twitter, Beeline Sports Show. But got a chance to meet and talk with future guest Jerry Cooney, former boxer. Jerry Cooney, when I saw Jerry Cooney back when he was fighting, I thought of Jerry Cooney as the real Rocky. I don't know, he just looked that way. But again, he was the guy that really went up against Larry Holmes, and it was black versus white, all the stuff. In the glory days of boxing, especially at the heavyweight level. Guys, this past Olympics yielded an ugly stat, which really it shows completely that inevitably boxing might be in a situation where it's on its last legs, and really the door is perhaps just closing. Guys, this last Olympics in London that ended this past week, the U.S. men's Olympic boxing team did not get a medal at all. And thinking about this, and I thought about it for a moment, but really it stuck with me because the last time, if you think about it, boxing has been a part of the Olympics. I think it goes back to 1904 or 1940 and goes back for quite a long time. And this is a situation where you think about it, boxing has won at least a medal. Now, we talk about gold medals, silver, bronze. They have at least medaled in each and every single Olympics up to this one. And if it wasn't for the U.S. women's boxer, Marlon Esperanza, as well as Clarissa Shields, the USA would have been shut out for medals in men's and women's. The unit boxing enthusiasts, is this a black eye for boxing? And is this a situation where inevitably boxing could be in some serious trouble?
I don't think boxing is in serious trouble. I think what's happening in this country is our great athletes are going into other sports, basketball, football, even baseball. When it used to be a time in the inner city, there was one spot, every city had one, a gym where you can find all the up-and-coming talent. You just go there, you hang out, and you meet all the up-and-coming, even people that were well-established in the boxing game. It doesn't have that no more. If you go to this, there's a spot in Brooklyn, there's a spot out in Philly, but other than that, there's really no gyms in the whole country. So if I'm a kid growing up in inner city Compton, or if I'm growing up in Texas, or I'm growing up in Florida, unless somebody puts me under the wings and gives me some sort of tutelage, I'm basically lost. I don't really have an outlet to box. I have no one to teach me the sport, show me the sport. It's just not how it was back, 15, 20 years ago. That's just not how it was. And, outside of New York, and that's where most of the boxers are coming from. They're either coming from overseas or they're coming from New York or Philly. And the rest of the sport the rest of the cities are in trouble.
Yeah, boxing, we use the Olympics to introduce us to guys like Oscar De La Hoya, the great Cassius Clay, now Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Sugar Ray Leonard. And we utilized that platform to sort of introduce America with the next big thing, as well as give us an opportunity to support our sort of hometown hero, if you will. Do you think that just perhaps pay-per-view and cable have really hurt the sport of boxing growing on an amateur level, like Don mentioned, as far as in the inner cities with the gyms and really having that opportunity to showcase that young talent?
You know what? Here's the thing with boxing. And guys, boxing kind of is in trouble. It's been in trouble for a few years. I mean, you really only get maybe 2 good fights a year, and they're on pay-per-view, and we've all watched some bad fights every year on pay-per-view as well, and we only really get to really want to see Mayweather winning fights. So, guys, boxing is in trouble. Don actually nailed it on the head when he mentioned our young athletes. In any sport, they turn professional early. So you got young guys right now. If you're good in your sport, you're going to turn professional as soon as possible to get a payday. Okay, you're not going to go to the Olympics and as an amateur. And if you're an amateur for a long time, then right now you're not a good boxer. So I can't say, Joe, that pay-per-view has hurt boxing and amateur boxing. I just think that kids are looking in other sports as well, and I think that if you're young and you're good, you're going to turn professional a lot longer than you're going to stay an amateur.
But I understand that, but here's the thing, Aaron, boxing, basketball, baseball, football. You can't say baseball because inner city kids, again, baseball is predominantly dominated by the Latin players. Aaron, basketball and football have been around just as long as boxing, Aaron, and it wasn't that way before. Are we looking at a situation because of the pay-per-view fights, because of cable? You don't have the Saturday fights on CBS, ABC. We don't have that anymore. Has that really hurt the sport growing on a grassroots level?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely hurt the sport a little bit. It's a complicated issue, but that's definitely one factor. If you have it, if you have it on TV where people can watch it for free, then definitely it grows the sport. But boxing, there's a lot of problems with boxing. There's competition from MMA that's growing in popularity. There's like Donahue absolutely killed it. There's young black kids. They're playing basketball. They're playing football. They're playing other sports. And then also, don't forget about, all these head injury studies. We talk about it in football, but don't forget that, that data is gonna come around for boxing too. And that data comes for boxing. That's gonna be another, pardon the pun, but black eye for the sport. And I don't know that the sport will recover. I don't think it'll ever get back to, where it was when Ali and Frazier were fighting. I think those days are done.
I think I agree with you. I think, however, listen, we went through a phase with the boxing that inevitably we saw the athletes really just, again, immerse themselves into the sport, and then once it was over, again, broken down individuals, sometimes broke financially, nothing really at all, and the paydays were humongous. But I look at it this way, and you hit it right on the head. And actually, Donahue as well, the sport now has competition. In the past, you might have said that, basketball and really football were the only two competitors that threatened boxing. MMA, even though it's more of a gladiator sport, as Ronnie Two Man Austin says, it's a gladiator sport. It's a very, very brutal sport. It's very, very brutal. However, it's now it's sort of being integrated into regular TV. You look at it now, I think it was last Saturday night or Saturday night before last, you had a situation where you had a UFC fight, MMA fight on Saturday night TV on Channel 5 on Fox. So now it's doing the thing and following the same model in which boxing used to provide. You can remember where boxing had a Saturday fight. You might watch a Muhammad Ali, a recognizable figure would fight on Wide World of Sports, ABC. You also would have a fighter fight on CBS. You would have these fighters that you became to understand and know and follow, and rather than pay $40 or $50 or $60 to see them right out the gate. And I think that this has really hurt. And I give you a case in point. How much more well known would a guy like Adrian Broner be? I mean, honestly, and I'm just taking it from my standpoint, is that I think, the guys like Saul Canelo, yes, these guys fight on the undercards of those big heavyweight, the big matchups, the Pacquiao, Bradley, the Mayweather, and, Cotto fight. You have those guys being exposed. But to keep in mind, people are having to pay this money, and if you're not a boxing enthusiast, you're not going to go and pay $60 to watch a fight. And I think that the Olympics was the training ground. Everybody focused on the Olympics. Everybody is patriotic. Everybody gets involved. And you are acknowledged on a platform that is humongous if you win a medal. And thus you come back, the fight promoters, they come, now that's how they build you. I mean, think about it this way. Oscar De La Hoya, the same blueprint. But now we, followed him through the Olympics. You heard the story. It is his mother passing away. He's from South Central L.A. You knew all this stuff before he jumped in and turned pro. And all of a sudden, the Golden Boy was born. Now you have a situation with the UFC. UFC, we're starting to know who the fighters are. We're understanding who these guys are, the MMA. We're understanding. We know who Dana White is. And I look at boxing, and, I said 1940. I was off some years. 1904 was the first year the inaugural boxing competition took place. And that was the last time. Since 1904, this is the first year that the USA has not medaled. And I think that is really atrocious. And, again, we're not looking at the opportunity to build up these athletes and really have us connect with them. I mean, I don't even know an American heavyweight champion. I mean, not even champion, but an American heavyweight boxer that is relevant. And I think that's the sad thing about it. Some of these guys could walk down the streets in total obscurity because the fact is they're not being sort of promoted the proper way and using those channels moving forward. Guys, we got about wrap up. Go ahead.
Let me piggyback one quick thing, and we close the door on the boxing thing. That you definitely identified a major problem. Boxing definitely is in trouble. But I just wanted to say that people are out there that are trying to do things to change boxing. You're about to see an infusion of money go in to set up boxing gyms once again. You're about to see celebrities get involved in boxing. Prime example, Jay-Z. He's about to bring major fights to the Barclays Center. You've just seen 50 Cent apply to be a promoter, and he's looking to partner with Floyd Mayweather to bring up the next generation of boxers that are coming in the sport. There's one thing that always happens. Usually you have a boxing camp, and out of that camp, you see a lot of other boxers that you begin to follow, and they become the favorites. That for the past 10 years has been gone. Those type of things are starting to happen, and people are starting to say, how can we recreate it? And I just wanted to say that there are people out there that are trying to revive the sport, and hopefully they're successful at doing it.
Yeah, I think inevitably it has to go back to the genesis, the genesis of where it started. Free television. It has to go back to that in some way, somehow. They got to get it back on free TV and make people want to go ahead and pay to watch these fighters and follow them through. You get on the Floyd Mayweather, and I think inevitably what helps sell the fight is Floyd looking and acting like a buffoon at times. The only thing about him is that he's able to back it up. Guys, we had, what's-his-face call in, Shannon Brown. We're going to reschedule with him as well as Tim Brown. Tim got really he's in Texas, and he's an hour behind, so he got confused with the time. So we're going to switch it around with Tim Brown. And Shannon had an interview that ran a little late, so we definitely will reschedule with both of those guys. Howie C., start us off with the bottom line for tonight.
Guys, just another great show tonight. I got to speak to one of my favorite players in any sport of all time, Michael the Preacher, tonight. Irvin. And just one other thing, guys. There are reports now that UNC Chapel Hill might have some irregularities in their academic scheming. They've also talked about Julius Peppers recently having mock grades. Guys, we should not be surprised of any of these big universities cheating to get ahead in any sport. From UNC football to Duke basketball, everybody's cheating. It's just now starting to come to light a little bit more.
One thing I want to just follow up, Howie. I did hear Howie's enthusiasm in speaking to the playmaker because he had a follow-up question and Oak was saying something, and he actually cut off Oak. So I was like, wait a minute. I said Howie must have took some. He must have hung out with Victor Conte and Melky Cabrera. But
my bad, Oak.
I always said, Howie, that Duke, North Carolina. If anybody sits up here and believes that these schools do not cheat, I got a bridge to sell you that connects New York to New Jersey. Anytime you want to see it, make me an offer. Definitely make sure we do that. Aaron, what's your bottom line for tonight?
I just wanted to echo the sentiments of Howie about Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin, I have so much respect for that guy, and I admire him a lot. And that's a lot coming from a guy who grew up in Philadelphia. I mean, I was absolutely embarrassed when some Philly fans were booing Michael Irvin when he was laying on the ground with an injured neck. And I know some people say, oh, Michael Irvin's cocky, he's arrogant, he's this, he's that. But you show me a professional athlete who doesn't have the utmost confidence in himself, and I'll show you a role player. And Michael Irvin's definitely not a role player. To be great at something, you have to believe in yourself. And sure, it manifests itself in different ways. A guy like Larry Fitzgerald is quiet, but I guarantee you he believes in himself just as much as Michael Irvin does. So I just wanted to say, much respect to Michael Irvin, and I wish him the best going forward for everything.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said that. Because how many guys would have really tackled that whole Chad Johnson situation? And he did not shy away from it. He brought it up, so that was really interesting. D-Unit, what's your bottom line?
I can't deviate. I definitely have to say Michael Irvin, who's definitely a person that I have tremendous amount of respect for. Not only what he's accomplished on the field, but also what he's accomplished off the field and his growth. We all fall down from time to time, but he's made major mistakes in front of the whole world and on the world stage. And, I just have to give him kudos and just tell him that, I really was in awe of his Hall of Fame induction speech. And, it brought tears to my eyes just to, hear his story and to see him depicted and tell it and articulate it the way he did. Very passionate man, very strong role model. I mean, to me it's like, everyone has setbacks, so everyone has difficulties, and it's really how you react to them that really defines character. And I really admire his character, and I just wanted to say that.
What moment stood out to you, Howie?
I mean, you know what? You said it, Joe. I mean, he actually did not shy away from the Chad Ocho scenario, and he actually called out his wife as well. So I think, and just his journey, what he talked about, how he mentioned Jerry Jones, and you want to show and improve for your boss. And I think you can take that in any walk of life. You want to show your boss what you can do, and he was not afraid to show his boss what he can do in practice and on the field on Sunday. So that's probably what I would probably take best out of his interview with us.
Yeah. My bottom line for tonight is really, I echo the same sentiments in regards to the whole situation with, Michael Irvin. I think, like I said before, to have a guy that did not waver from the Chad Ochocinco, and then what's more importantly about it, really, sort of take a back seat and point the finger and not, thinking that people would remember with his transgressions. I mean, he spoke from a standpoint of saying, I can speak about this because I was in his situation and I did worse. And I thought that was very, very telling. And one of the interesting things about it is, a lot of the times we have a lot of amazing guests on the Bottom Line Sports Show, and a lot of the times we try to end up the interview with understanding their journey, what they've gotten out of football, and all the things that they have gotten out of their journey. I felt tonight was perhaps maybe the first time we didn't even need to do so because he shared so much and how it coincided with everything that Chad is doing, and I thought that was very, very telling about him. And I have a newfound respect for Michael Irvin. I thought, honestly, was really scared that he was going to do the Warren Sapp on us and be a total jerk, but first-class guy, hands down, first-class guy, and kudos to his assistant, Mo, really making it happen. That about wraps up tonight's show. Shannon Brown, we are going to reschedule with Shannon Brown. Just spoke to his people. We're going to do that, as well as Tim Brown. We're going to make sure that. I'd like to thank Michael Irvin for jumping on the line with us, Penny Hardaway, Charles Oakley. We'd like to thank you for tuning in. Tune in this weekend. Enjoy baseball, Yankees and Red Sox, and all the trimmings associated with preseason football. For Aaron Carter, Donahue Baker, Howie C., I'm Gerald Brown saying thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening and have a great, great weekend and be safe out there. Bottom Line Sports Show's out. Peace.
And don't forget, if you want more of the Bottom Line Sports Show, be sure to check out our website at thebottomlinesportshow.com and listen to your favorite sports stars interview free at iTunes Podcast of the Bottom Line Sports Show.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.